Welcome to the ultimate chess mystery puzzle. In this position, White was in a really tough spot, so his king decided to create and drink an invisibility potion to try to run away. So now it's up to you to determine exactly where he is. And the crazy thing is, I don't need to give you any additional information besides showing you this position for you to be able to determine his position. So yeah, I really encourage you to pause the video and try to solve this one because it's just a fantastic, unique puzzle you won't find anywhere else. So hope you had a crack at it, but don't feel discouraged if you weren't able to solve it, because this is far from a conventional chess puzzle in the sense that it doesn't really test your tactical ability. Instead, it tests more of your detective logic, so to say. You'll understand in a second. So first things first, when you look at this and you're asked to find White's king, it seems like an impossible task. I mean, it can be all over the board. But with some clever reverse engineering, this task can actually be done. Yeah, first things first, we obviously have to determine who is it to move in this position. If it were White to move, well, first we notice that this bishop is pointing at the black king. And if it were White's move, we cannot have the bishop taking the king, right? That's an illegal position. So, if it is White to move, then the king is for sure either on b3 or c2, covering the diagonal. However, since both of these squares are attacked, we cannot be having this, so this isn't possible, and yeah, by contradiction, we have proved that it is Black to move, and Black is in check. So now we take a look at another interesting piece of information. How the hell did this bishop end up on a4, checking the black king? Because if you take a look, there's a rook on b5, so the bishop obviously couldn't have come from this upper diagonal, right? The bishop can't just fly over the rook. And he couldn't have checked, he couldn't have come from this diagonal, because there's the king, right? He cannot just go through the king and to a4. So, if you think a little bit, the only way this position is possible is if the white king was on the diagonal of the bishop and he moves away, creating a check. However, it couldn't have been on c2, right? So, because the king is there. So, the only way this could have happened is if he was on b3 and he moved away, right? But if he moved away from this diagonal, he could have only gone to a3 or c3, because all the other squares are taken, and yeah, these are the two only other options. So we've already limited the entire board to two squares, a3 or c3. Pretty amazing. But to finally decide whether the king has gone to c3 or a3, we needed to go a step further in our detective analysis, or in this case, a step behind, because we're backtracking. And we have to see how the hell this king is being checked, double checked by this rook and this bishop. Turns out there's only a way that this could have happened, but it's a very unintuitive, definitely not the first idea that comes to mind. Because if we take a look, a normal double check would be something like the bishop getting out of the rook's line of fire and also checking the king. However, if we take a look at our position, the king being on b3, how the hell did the bishop transform into a knight, right? And all of a sudden it went from b4 to d5. Doesn't make any sense. This position seems completely impossible, but turns out there's a way. And if you haven't figured it out yet, again, I encourage you to pause the video for a second time and try to think a little bit. This is probably the toughest idea to find, but since it's the last one, give it a shot. So yeah, I hope you figured it out by now, because I'm removing the white king invisibility. And the being on b3, we've already established that the bishop couldn't have been on b4, jumping to d5. That doesn't make any sense. So another piece must have been on b4, and the piece maybe went to another square, and the king took it. But this still doesn't make any sense, because how can the piece take if the bishop is already attacking the king? So if you think about it, there's only a single way this could have happened, and I'm gonna reveal it. The other way is if there was a black pawn on b4, a white pawn on c2, probably see it by now. The bishop checked, white advanced this pawn to the c4 square, covering the check, and now the damn pawn. The damn pawn is the missing piece. He captures on c3, and now by capturing on c3, not only is checking with the bishop, but also opening the rook. And now the king has to take on c3, because if he went to a3, there would be a pawn on c3, so we wouldn't reach this position, instead this one. So the king must have taken on c3. And yeah, this is just such a unique puzzle with such a fantastic solution. I hope you guys enjoyed, and feel free to leave a like, leave some feedback, or something if you enjoyed. And yeah, catch you on the next one. Bye.